Well, I'm sure by now all of you know that I'm not one to shy away from responding to questions. I will respond to this question and on the diplomatic passport issue just this once, and that's it. I will not speak about it again. I sometimes joke that it's only when I travel outside the Gambia that I feel that I am a government minister, because of the way other places treat their ministers. It's a different story here in Gambia. But let me clarify the facts. And this was in June 2019, less than 3 months ago, that I inquired from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs about those who may be entitled to diplomatic passports. And I see a lot of misconceptions about that as well. Diplomatic passports are not only meant for diplomats. That's a misconception that is out there. And that is why the Ministry of Foreign Affairs gave an advice, I think it's an interview in the Fourier newspaper, to categorize those who are entitled to it. In addition to specific categories of persons, it says, and the president has a discretion to give it to any person. So that's in addition to the group that is already identified. And that group includes diplomats and their dependents. And clearly it is contained in that same response, and which is the information that I was given as well, that cabinet ministers and their dependents, their wives, their kids, could be given diplomatic passports, in addition to the president's decision. Now, on the basis of that advice, I wrote to His Excellency the President to grant diplomatic passports to, these are the closest members of my family. I did not ask for it for my spouse and children. I asked for it for my spouse and mother. My sisters were just add-ons. I mean, I had responded to this issue earlier on in a private forum, but that was a personal response. This is now my official one. For my mother, it's not for a stranger to me, it's not for a friend, it's for my own mother. And if I can, by virtue of my office, request for a privilege that is totally lawful and legitimate, that I can request from my principal, who has the power and the discretion to grant that request, to facilitate my mother. We're not talking about strangers here, or friends, or distant family members. To facilitate the travel of my mother for a specific purpose. I went to lengths in the request to justify why I wanted it for her, and also to provide assistance to her. What's the point of my mother carrying a diplomatic passport in Saudi when she is moving in a wheelchair and there's no one to move with her? So because of those reasons, I submitted the request based on the advice that I received, and correct advice as well. The president approved it. I had nothing to hide. I didn't even label the letter confidential. I wrote it down on a piece of paper. And it's unfortunate that in perhaps a desperation to look for something on me, people are using this opportunity to say all sorts of things against and about me. But it's public office. I know it's going to end someday soon. But I'll tell you this. Ever since I assumed office 2.5 years ago, I have never been so hot in my life. Because we're talking about my mother. And if I did nothing wrong, nothing against the law, nothing unethical, nothing immoral, and I am being, it hurts me. That's all I'll say.